Hey guys, how's it going? I'm EG Magnum, and this is my video talking about the April 8th patch notes that they put out, um, and pretty much my thoughts now that it's been a few days. It's interesting with the rebalancing, kind of what they've done, and also the problems with the inventory stuff and some of their servers. Luckily, some of this stuff has been fixed. Sadly, the biggest issue hasn't, and I'll definitely be talking about that and kind of my concerns and things. And as well, they put out a thing on Twitter on stuff that you can do as well. I'll have all of that in the description below, links to that. But anyway, if you like this and want more of this content, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll definitely be having a video coming out soon, trademark, talking about how to level easy and get to the end game, and then I'm hoping to do another one talking about getting to challenge tier 15, pretty easy. Hopefully fast is in there too, but at least the easy part. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. So first part here, they talk about the first patch stuff, and oh, I will be doing timestamps for this, so because this is probably going to be decently lengthy, so check the timestamps or the bar down there at the bottom of the video to figure out where you want to skip to if you want to skip to certain things. But anyway, the first patch notes here, they're just saying this is the first patch, and so first patch notes though is crash fixes, lots of crash fixes and stuff. Decent amount here. HUD disappearing seems to still be a problem, as well as some of these possibly are still happening from what I've been hearing. I know one big issue that I hope they fixed was literally some of the side quests were blocked off from a friend of mine because he couldn't go down the elevator without crashing from that area right before Trenchtown. But yeah, there they are on the screen if you want to pause it and take a look at that. The one that definitely is one I'm glad they're looking at least, because I think there should be a different change, but changing the matchmaking setting from default open to close. Now, with the that, I would love to see it be more of a, you can change it to just friend and you set your own default, because I was definitely one of these guys in the AFK lobbies, and two, I don't like having to change it from whatever to friends every time. And yeah, so I would, get done streaming, go to bed, and leave my game on, and oops, so I was in AFK lobby for sure. The good news here is this will definitely cut down on some server load, and also the, matchmaking times, as they say there. Now, moving on. This is very weird. I'm really curious what you think in the comments down below, so please leave a comment on your thoughts of this community appreciation package. So what is it? Your highest leveled character will receive a level appropriate legendary weapon and a level appropriate amount of titanium, as well as you get the frustration emote. Now, the titanium weapon, or the titanium package thing, is cool, I guess. The amount of whatever that's going to be, and the weapon is okay. At first, when this first happened, I was like, I don't want gear, just fix problems. That's more of what I want. Like, I definitely don't want to get just random gear randomly. But I mean, now that I've gotten to CT 15, I get legendaries enough and titanium enough that this is like, okay, cool. This will definitely help people that are still leveling or whatever, but it's not like too big of a deal that they're giving this out. So that's my personal take on it. I like, again, this kind of also goes to, and here's another thought, the they're not really advertising this as a live service, and the thing is, I mean, they're arguing semantics at this point, because this is exactly what you get in like a gacha game or some kind of live service. So I mean, fair enough, whatever. But yeah, I would really like to see them just go ahead and do some fixes and stuff, and this kind of hints towards some live service stuff that we might get. I'm kind of concerned about that. Again, I've been burned way too many times by other games, so it's one of those things. But this is kind of the good example is Path of Exile not wanting to be advertised as a free-to-play game, where they were a free-to-play game, and there was a big stigma against free-to-play games at that time. So fair enough, I do understand that. But hopefully their DLC model, where we buy into DLC, will be enough to sustain everything. And with them growing so much, hopefully that works. And it kind of comes down to one of those things where, I mean, it might be an inevitability 2 or 3 years down the road when servers become too expensive. So hopefully that's not a problem, and hopefully we don't just get into a continuous thing of you know, they do a number 2 or number 3, and we just keep getting, I guess, DLC. The question would be is how expensive will these DLC be, and will they be more of like expansions, like something that you would see from like Guild Wars, which I believe even Guild Wars was something that had some kind of subscription stuff. It's been a long time since I played that, but I'm pretty sure Guild Wars 2 had expansion stuff, or sorry, subscription stuff with that as well. So we'll see what they do with it in the future, but that's just kind of interesting that they did something like this. Very live service of them with that one. But anyway, moving on to this issue. Well, actually, we're going to skip that for now, and we'll come back to that in a bit. Rebalancing. So there's 3 different things here that I have different thoughts on. So the first one is the loot rebalancing here. I guess this technically kind of comes into loot rebalancing, but that's a little different. The Historian, Bounty Hunt, and Monster Hunt change here is awkward because they say here that they want these doing the quest line to be worth the effort. But by getting rid of they want to get rid of the exploit where people are playing multiplayer and getting multiple legendaries really quickly. That's fair. They're not going to punish anybody who is exploiting this, so there's that. And with the I just hope that they put it back in and allow people to get legendaries, because right now it's definitely not worth the time to do that, especially considering what I'm getting at later on. But this would be a nice thing for people early on just getting into challenge tier stuff to get some legendaries. So hopefully they fix this and then reinstate that. That's what I'm hoping this means, even though they didn't necessarily say that outright. And that's kind of my issue there. But yeah, that's what happened. Also, on a side note, I didn't get my first legendary for doing the Historian. That was a little weird, I think. Anyway, I do have proof whether it happened or not. So maybe I'm blind and maybe I'm crazy. But either way, I definitely need to check that out. But I'm pretty sure I didn't get my first one. So that's a little awkward if I didn't. But either way, moving on to this next one here. This, here's my second thought here. I don't like seeing this after the game launches. Nerfing drop rates of specific monsters and stuff is kind of awkward after a launch type thing. Now, of course, they probably didn't want to show us too many enemies early on in the demo, but this would have been nice to actually get the, have them test this kind of thing demo-wise. Sadly, they're doing this now, and that definitely feels bad for loot. And if the loot works the way I think it does for in-game, then I mean, I wonder how many people were getting, like, maybe 2 or 3 legendaries at CT15, and then now they're getting 1, because I wasn't 215 when this patch went in. At the same time, I was doing pretty good runs on these maps, and now, for Boomtown, I pretty much don't get a gold crate. And I will say, if they want to make gold crates kind of the best of the best can find gold crates, I'm okay with that. Fine. That works. But I want them to kind of bring out their philosophy here on what they want for these times, because there's still certain things that don't take but like 7-8 minutes that have like a 15-minute timer on to get a gold crate, and I can get a gold crate that way. And apparently people were getting like 4.5-minute times, I think, on this. So I have not gotten there yet. Maybe that's just my gear and a few things like that, or maybe the build I'm doing currently, or probably just my aim, but hey. Other than that, though, if they want these to be really hard for people to obtain, then just tell us that's what they want. They want literally the best of the best to obtain gold crates, and the average player to obtain bronze, or even silver, or whatever. But that's what I'd like to know. And I'm not against having content gated to just the 1% or the 0.1%, or even 0.01%. But I would, let us know what you're thinking. I know there's been a lot of people when we get down to the, well, actually, let's just go ahead and hop into that. But yeah, those have changed. They've been reduced to 10 minutes, 50 seconds for the chem plant to get gold, and what is this? 6 minutes, 30 seconds to get gold on Boomtown. So now they're nerfing certain weapons because they want more weapon diversity. The tactical assault rifle has went down by 10% on its crit multi, and the marksman rifle has went down by 50% on its crit multi, which is actually a pretty big more multiplier nerf. yeah, I mean, they want more weapon diversity, fair enough, that works. The 50% is a pretty big hit, though, I will say. But that's probably why it was the one being used most, from what I've been hearing. Duration on the Massacre AP buff has been reduced to 3 seconds. So I guess somebody was getting way too much stacking, and that's why. Or there is an issue with the stacking cap where it's not applying, maybe? That's actually what that sounds like. Maybe there is a cap and the cap's not working, so people are just pushing past it, maybe? So, okay, if that's just a bug and that's what they're doing so that builds aren't one-shotting things because they're stacking too high, fair enough. I haven't looked into that one yet, though, so somebody could enlighten me on that one in the comments. That would be awesome. But if not, either way, even if it's one that you're stacking too much before it runs out, that could be awkward as well. I was looking at the legendary buff to get reduced damage with Toxic, and I was like, can I get 100%? So yeah. Anyway, moving on though to the bullet abilities and what they're doing here. And again, I know people have been saying characters, they talked about being overpowered, and what they say right here is there should be an overpowered feel for the best builds out there. And literally the bullet builds take nothing. I've got no gear right now, and it was a cakewalk to do everything in the game by myself. So, yeah, infinite ammo, no reloading is fun and all, but it didn't take anything to get going. So, as far as it goes, they fixed a bug, and there was some unforeseen balance stuff where they were made better because they weren't working or something correctly. So, yeah, now they're just doing more damage than they were seeing, even though in the test, yeah, it was less or something. Point being, though, they decided to go ahead and nerf stuff around them rather than the bullets themselves in some kind of way. So we have the cooldown of the twisted rounds has been increased to 25 seconds, previously 16. I know a lot of people definitely don't like that the cooldown got increased, but a lot of these builds are just having infinite ammo anyway, so this is more for having a risk when your bullets are down, I guess. While infinite uptime on bullet abilities are always our intention, it is intended to be high risk, high reward playstyle. However, given the current power of this skill, the risk involved with the ability given the short cooldown, even when players fall to trigger ammo replenishment, increasing its cooldown in combination. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, as a Technomancer who has like a minute cooldown for the same thing, 25 seconds is nothing. So that's not a big deal. And I think even the Pyromancer has like a 30-second one or something. It's definitely less, but it's it's close to this, and it feels fine. So yeah, which the thing is, the Pyromancer can sustain bullets just from another ability. So I guess that kind of works. But anyway, moving on. Now this, I don't know whether these add up to be 50% or these are 50% each. So either that's a 40% increased damage nerf, or that is a 15% nerf. If it's 15%, meh, it's not really much. And if it's 45%, that's kind of the same thing that Killing Spree gives. Well, that's less than Killing Spree gives. And Killing Spree, I've dealt without it and had it, and it's not that much of a game changer. So this isn't the biggest deal. With the vulnerability change, though, I do have a problem with, because this affects everything across the board. Now, maybe they could give... Actually, yeah, I don't... Yeah, this affects everybody. Now, as far as the 3 overpowered situations here, cool. But the thing is, this also affects abilities. This just literally affects everything in the game. So I don't know about this change. This one was a little awkward. I don't know why they did this, because this literally affects not only the bullet builds, but all the ability builds and the Devastator entirely. So that kind of sucks. That's an awkward change. If they wanted to change how the Technomancer works, and I think I know why it's like this, because they expect party play. And this is what makes sense to me. They expect party play. So with a Technomancer, if you do it right through the supporting build when you're playing in a party, you can get 80% more vulnerable effect. And with that build, I mean, at that point, you're getting, what is that, like 18% on top of that 25? So that's a pretty big deal. That's 43% more damage multiplier on top of everything, which is kind of gross. So now it going down to 15 turns it into 25 once you have both of those. The downside is now with most builds, if you're playing solo, you're only probably going to be getting just 5% for your build, putting you up to 20%. And, that's still not bad. I mean, it's essentially for the Technomancer, my build anyway, that's a 14% damage nerf for the more damage nerf. And then the next thing they did for both the Technomancer and also, even though they mentioned up here that it was the Techno and Trickster that were more of the problem, the Pyromancer also got the same thing with a 15% damage nerf from its Trial of Ashes. So I guess fair enough for all three of these. Cool. They wanted to nerf the damage for these. It still feels fine. And not only does it feel fine, but if you look at the numbers, it's not that big of a deal with how they scale everything, because there's so much things that multiply on top of each other rather than certain things that should probably stack a little more additively. There's way too many different multiplicative stack things in this game, which is kind of silly. So yeah, once you start figuring that out and start figuring out combinations, the builds get absurd. But anyway, moving on though. Now let's talk about, well, actually, I will say this. I like difficult games. And like I said up here with the 0.1% and 0.01%, I would like to see more harder content. It kind of sucks. Now, I haven't done the final fight of the challenge tiers, but once that's done, then I'm going to be doing different builds. And once I do all different builds, then I'm probably going to be bored. And it looks there's like a lot of build diversity, so I'm cool for a while with this game. But I definitely want some harder content to come out. Give me something that's going to kick me in the teeth. I'm definitely a video game masochist, but I definitely want to strive to beat something that is really insanely difficult. And hopefully they can provide that experience. I feel like the overpowered feel that they were talking about is slaughtering the 50 enemies that you're fighting at once. And I do that already. And those little guys that you're killing trash amounts of, that's just like killing trash in any like game like Diablo or Path of Exile and stuff like that. So I think that's the overpowered feel. I think what people have, I think the problem is where people come from games like Destiny, they have this issue. But I will say, I am going to look at some of these comments because after closing this so many times, I have. Because there's a lot of people complaining about these nerfs. And while I do agree some of these shouldn't have happened or whatever, but yeah. And like this right here, why did you lower the timers? Already you're struggling as it is. And I don't think it's the biggest deal to lower some of the timers if they want to make it to where gold is this thing to strive towards for the very top end of players. And I mean, again, I'm okay with that, but I know there's a lot of people who would disagree and think content should be more readily available and you should stack harder stuff on top. And that might be a way to do it. Are they going to come out with a harder version of every challenge tier map as a extra reward? So again, one of the points when I said that, somebody in chat actually mentioned that gold is the only way to up your challenge tier at a certain point. And I said, okay, well then they give silver a way to up your challenge tier, but then you give like gold or maybe come out with like a platinum or something to give more stuff. But yeah. So as far as the balancing thoughts, those are my balancing thoughts. So let's go ahead though and get into the connection stuff and my concerns there, because this is the reason why I can't recommend this game to people yet, and definitely wait to buy as of right now. At least wait till this is fixed to buy the game. So, multiplayer stability and connection. So as far as the co-op goes, we've just now recently got crossplay active, which is cool. And, they worked on the weekend to try to get it fixed and stuff, and they were not ready for the server demand with how many people. And, yeah, today, just as we have been over the past year, so we won't give you the expected server demand, was too much for us. Yeah, that's the biggest fear of any game, is their game being too popular, especially when it's online like that. And we were in fact debugging a complex issue with why some metric calls were bringing down our extremely or externally hosted database. And yeah, some of these issues with the legendaries definitely is a database. Oh, here we go. They're actually talking about it here. Yeah. We did not face this issue during the demo launch earlier this year. Our database is used to hold onto everyone's gear, legendaries, profiles, and progression. And yeah, server problems and then database issues is exactly what I was going to say reading this. So I'm glad they actually covered it down here. To be honest, I didn't really read any of this part because I'm a software engineer myself, so I know how that goes, and I've kind of guessed what they would be saying here. But yeah, exactly. And actually, I did read this because they were talking about how they found out an issue. That's kind of interesting. You want to read that? But I feel like some of this is them getting too much into the thick of it here. But they've definitely been trying to scale up their servers. This happens every time people aren't ready for more than what was expected. And this is a common issue in games, and it's a common issue in online games because the problem is servers are expensive, and you try to have what you think is ready and maybe a little bit more on top, and then, you know, like maybe your game launches and half of that was all you needed, so then you downscale it. Or then, you know, and then if things happen like a year down the road it got popular and then you downscaled already and then it goes past because you gotta pay for that server space. Server space gets pretty expensive. So yeah, that's one of the problems here. They even talk about, where is it here? They have it on. They pretty much they have an outsourced. Each thing is outsourced for the matchmaking as well. Here we go. I think this is multiple different partners and services. For example, matchmaking and queuing are hosted by one service partner, while peer-to-peer relay is handled by another. Other components are hosted by other partners, and that's just a thing with any of these online games like this. Which comes to my next problem before we get into the big issue. Why should it stay online? Now, from what I can tell, they want to protect some integrity of the game kind of thing, so people aren't like just cheating things or whatever. And fair enough. Cool, I get it. But, you know, they've been mentioning Diablo 2. What did Diablo 2 do? They had a unofficial set of server stuff that you could play with people. They had the official ones where you weren't supposed to cheat, and then you had your single player stuff that you couldn't take online at all. And that's what I would think they should do. They should have a single player thing that you can't take online at all. You have your single player character, and that's it. There you go. Have fun. And then you have your online character where you play with your friends, compete in these online timers. Maybe they come out with a ladder or something later on, and I think that would be awesome. So I hope that's what I see in the future, is them do that kind of thing, and yeah, give us a straight offline mode and a straight online mode to where you can do whatever on the offline mode, and then you can't take it to online mode at all. And then if you want to play online, you can only play online. I think so many games that are doing this online only thing should just do that with each one of these games. If people just want to play by themselves, let them. Now, let's talk about the big problem. I'm not even going to say elephant. Well, I just did. But biggest problem here is the inventory wipes and account wipes and accolade wipes as well. So they're going to be trying to do a one-off mass restoration coming up for a lot of the inventory wipes. So still, I don't think we've heard any word from that yet. Hopefully that ends up being sometime this week. But for any individual restoration, you know, if that still have problems, they'll be doing it by case basis, as well as they have to do that for the accolade wipe as well, because with the way they work, they're a bit different, and they can't just mass do that for everybody. Now, with the the account wipes or your character wipes, I don't know about that one. That's not really mentioned here. But a friend of mine, one of the guys that I was actually in the three-man group, we were doing the group stuff and trying to go through the game. That's on my pyromancer. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. They had all their characters disappear. Luckily, they're back, and that's awesome. But there's definitely people that have been affected by that don't have anything now. Period. Not even characters. So That's unfortunate. But what they've said is if you do encounter the wipe, so they put in more stuff. Cool, there it is. Again, I'll be linking all this in the description. Especially here, I'll have this as a timestamp showing this. But the potential prevention method for yourself is the moment that you notice your gear has disappeared, immediately force close the game, then reboot it. Say that again. The moment you notice your gear has disappeared, immediately force close the game, then reboot it. If your stuff is gone, then you need to contact them. Again, I'll have this post linked in the description, as well as this, if that makes sense to link that as well. So, there you guys go. There's that. This is a big issue, and this is why I can't really recommend the game to anybody right now, is because these inventory wipes, the character wipes, and the accolade wipe issue is still a problem. And anybody that I know that has gotten the game and is, been like, well, you look like you're having fun. I'm like, I am. But if you are getting the game, please, you're doing it at your own risk, and be expecting that. Because if you're going in it without your mindset of you may lose everything at any moment, and that happens, it is definitely one of those things that is going to make you quit the game, and for good reason. And this shouldn't be a thing that is in the game, but it is. And as a software engineer, I know there's some issues that can happen with this. And from what what I was guessing, it was some kind of database issue that they're having, and that's essentially what this said down here. So, yeah. Kind of awkward that it's in the game. Hopefully they can figure it out as soon as possible, at which point I will definitely recommend this game as something to go check out. And then if they ever do any sales, then hell yeah. But they have to fix that issue first. And again, that's my biggest concern. But anyway, let me know in the comments about anything that I just talked about the wipes or anything like that, as well as your thoughts on the balance stuff. Like I said, this is kind of awkward, but I'd really like to know what they're wanting to do. I don't really mind these nerfs. They really weren't that bad. And honestly, I'd like to see the game have harder content as it is. And then let me know what you think again on this community appreciation pack. But anyway, guys, that'll be it for this one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Path to 1,000 subs. Let's go. Usual links in the description below. Twitch, Twitter, Discord, stuff like that. But anyway, guys, that'll be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace!